What's happening, guys, man? I hope you guys are doing awesome on your Good Friday. I thought today we would do the teaching a little bit different, less in-house and out-house, more kind of thing. Not out-house like you peeing kind of thing, but outside in the great open area here in South Florida. My name's Scott Mendenhall. If you're rocking out with us for the first time, thank you so much for being a part. And we want to invite you to come back to our Easter services tomorrow. They're going to be off the chain at all our campuses. They're going to be sick, all right? Different teaching and all those things. You don't want to miss those tomorrow. But today, I want to talk about sometimes we don't realize some things. I can remember my senior year, I graduated high school, like most people do their senior year, right? I graduated, but I want to go off to travel the United States and Europe. And I was like, crap, I need a lot of money to do that. And so I ended up working 3 jobs. I roofed, I worked at a movie theater, and I worked at a coffee shop. Those 3 jobs I worked, and I worked all summer. My graduating senior summer, I absolutely did nothing but worked. I remember waking up and going to the coffee shop at 4 in the morning, drinking a lot of espresso, doing my coffee shop deal, getting done with that at noon, going to roof for 4 or 5 hours, get home at 7 o'clock, shower, and get to the movie theater, where that was a lot of fun because you just got paid to watch movies. And that was my summer, honestly, every day except for Sunday because I went to church, and I did that constantly. Well, one afternoon, my mom and dad were gone. They were in Minnesota shopping, or at the cabin. I don't remember exactly what they were doing. They were in Minnesota, and I was left alone, and I come home from the coffee shop, get my stuff to go put a roof on, come home, shower, and I'm gonna be late. And I hate being late. You know, good leaders are never late, and so I try to not be late at all. And so I rush home. I remember throwing my keys on the floor right by the front door, going, okay, I'm gonna leave them right there. Run into the house. I shower really quick, you know, just fast, get out of the house, slam the door, go to my car, and I go in my pocket, and my keys aren't in the pocket that normally are, and I check all my pockets, kind of freaking out, you know, patting myself down, and I look in the car to see if they're in there, and they're not there, and I'm like, oh crap, I remember I left them on the floor right in front of the front door. And so I go back to hope that I didn't lock the front door. The front door's locked. I check all the windows, they're all locked. I can't get in. I'm frustrated, annoyed, the fact that I have locked myself out. My mom and dad are in Minnesota. I lived in Illinois. I got no way getting in the house, and so I walked around, checked every window, I checked every door, and they were completely locked. So, you know, I work in a movie theater. You watch a lot of people kick in doors, and I thought, you know, it can't be that hard to kick in a door. It's just a front door. I mean, seriously, everybody can do that. And so I propped open the screen door, and I looked at this big metal door, and I was like, crap, I'm gonna have to kick this thing hard, like launch this thing through the house. And so I sat there, and I was like, man, this is gonna probably take 5 or 6 tries. I'm gonna be late to work. And so I just, all my might, I lift my front foot up, and I go wham, and I kicked it. And you know what? I had no idea it was so easy to kick in a door. I kicked in the front door, and the door went flying through the wall that was behind the other door, went into my bedroom. There is a gaping hole in the wall behind the door. The door is now stuck in the wall. There are my keys. I grab my keys, try to pull the door shut, and now it won't shut. Why? Because I have destroyed the frame of the door. I had no idea. I did not realize that it would be so painful to do this. So I get in, I put a bookshelf to hold the door closed. I rush to work, I'm late, I'm irritated. I go into my boss, and I was like, oh, listen, I had a kick in my own house. I had to break into my own house to get the keys. I'm late, it's not safe, I need to go home. So I ended up not even staying at work that night, not making didn't make any money. I went home to literally take duct tape and tape the door closed because I had no idea how to fix it. And my parents came home 3 days later, and my dad comes, sees the door, goes, what the heck happened there? I was like, what do you mean what happened there? He's like, the front door's messed up. I go, it is? What, somebody broke in? And then I really had to break down and tell him that, no, it was me, I broke in. And he went after, I mean, he just lit me up. Just got mad, yelling, I can't wait till you leave. This is ridiculous. And I'm just sitting there going, I can't wait till I leave either. I ended up having to pay for that door. You know how much it cost to fix the door, the wall, the hinges, everything? It was $5,000 to $6,000 that I had to pay to fix the stinking door in the wall. I had no idea. I did not realize that it would cost so much. Had I realized it, I'd have done things differently. You know, it's funny in our lives, the same thing. When we don't realize things, or I should say when we realize things, we all of a sudden look back and go, I would have done it different had I realized the cost of that, or the time it took to do that. I would have done things differently. It's the same thing in our relationship with Christ. It's like we only take one time a year to realize what he really did for us. Christ died on a cross for us. Good Friday is all about, I know it's weird to say we celebrate that day, but it's the day that he has been crucified, and 3 days later he raises from the dead, and we celebrate that because we serve a God that's alive and not dead, and we don't realize what he went through. I mean, think about that. You giving up your life. He was a 100% man, 100% God, and he gave up his life for us. If we realized that he really gave his life up for us, we'd live differently. We'd pray differently. We would worship differently. We would invite friends differently. We would live with an outlook on life differently if we realized what he really did for us. It says in the Bible that Jesus was beaten to a point where you couldn't even recognize him. You couldn't tell he was a man. In Isaiah, it talks about he didn't even look like a man. They grabbed his beard and ripped it out. And when you grab clumps of hair, it doesn't just come out with hair, it rips out the skin. They whipped him with a cat of nine tails, which a cat of nine tails is a whip with 9 tails at the end of it that have balls of glass and metal, anything sharp, and they would whip Jesus with it. They'd punch him in the face and told him, if you're the God, then you tell us who just punched you in the face. They did brutal things. And then they put him on a cross. It was the worst way to die in those days, is to be tortured and then hung on a cross. You know, hanging on a cross, you don't actually die from bleeding out. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to make you miserable on there. You start sagging down because your arms are stuck on the cross. You sag down, you can't breathe, so you got to push up on the nails that are in your ankles, pushing up to breathe, and you sag down. You know what ends up happening in the whole process is that your heart eventually will separate in the whole process of being crucified. So much so that when it said that Jesus, when he was stabbed in the side, that blood and water flowed. And the only way for blood and water to flow out of the body is that the heart is ripped into two. The thought could be said that Jesus didn't die of being crucified. He died of a broken heart. Broken heart for you and for your friends and your family. And if you realize that, then you lived life differently. See, I want you to realize it today. I want you to think about, look back in the last year, how have you treated your relationship with God? Has it been priority number one, or has it been on the backseat? If it's been on the backseat, you just haven't realized what God really did for you. You've taken advantage of what he did for you. See, I want you to take a moment to think about, what is it that God really did for you? And I want you to realize it, and I want you to think about it. I don't want you to sit there and text. I don't want you to sit there and talk to each other. I want you to realize, what is it that he did for you? We're going to have paper sitting in your underneath your seat with pens, and I want you to just write down what God did for you, what he's rescued you from. And maybe you're going to say, oh, I struggle, man. I've had a tough year. Man, you've got to dig past that. That's the enemy trying to steal what God's done in your life. You got to dig past that, and you've got to figure out and realize what he did for you. So what I want you to do is we're going to just show video footage of the lake they were standing next to, and as we show you different angles of this, I want you to write down your thoughts, maybe things that you hadn't realized or you hadn't taken time to realize what God did for you. And I just want you to write them down over the next few minutes, all right? So just watch this. here's the deal. I hope you had some time there just to think about what God's done for you as we celebrate Easter and what that means for us, because that's the fundamental piece of being a Christian, a Christ follower, is that Christ died on the cross and came back to life. Without that, it's all meaningless. That's the peace that we celebrate. That's the thing that separates us from all other religions, is that we have a God that loves us so much that he sent his own son Jesus to die on a cross for us, for our sins. His blood was shed so we didn't have to shed our blood, or we spend eternity in hell, because we could ask for forgiveness. That's huge. It's a game changer. We no longer are going to temples and slaughtering animals. We are now just coming before God and asking for forgiveness of our stupidity. That's awesome. Let me pray for you guys. God, I pray for everybody right now. I just pray that they realize what you've done for them, God. That you sent your son to die on a cross for them. And when they realize what that does for them, that this chat is just the beginning of them thinking about, wow, it really does change things. Wow, this is really different. May their Easter season be amazing. In your name, amen. Here in a moment, we're going to pass out they're called elements. It's bread and juice. It represents Christ's blood shed for us and his body given for us. The Bible talks about doing it in remembrance of the whole deal. And again, it's just a time to realize what he did. And so your campus pastors are going to come out and they're going to lead you guys in a time of communion. They're going to read some verses about communion. And then I want you guys to take the juice, and I want you to take the bread, and I want you to realize what all that means. And maybe you've never done it before, or maybe you've done it before and you never realized. Take it and let it mean something this time. It's not just some ritual or something. It is really for us to remember what he did for us and realize what a game changer that is. We love you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow with a whole nother teaching. Can't wait for tomorrow. Love you guys. See you then.